I think business people have weirdly dumb takes. If you want bad econ takes, go to CNBC. Yeah, maybe, bro. This used to be a thing a long time ago, and it's like coming back with Elon. That idea that engineers can do everything. I'm sincerely trying to find this. Can somebody steelman me? Can somebody give me one good video where Elon legitimately sounds like he understands like principles of engineering, or understands, like, it says something insightful or intelligent about engineering, please? Because I racked my brain on this after I talked to Tom, because I was like, have I ever heard a video where I've thought that Elon's like, oh, that's a really good point. I never thought of it. Like, oh, okay, that's pretty insightful. He's definitely like, I know that there are like stories of him sleeping on the Tesla floor and all that, but is there actually, because when I heard him speak to the that programmer that worked at Twitter, that rewrote so much of Elon to me, in that I rewrote him completely as a CEO. I'm like, oh, this guy doesn't know anything about engineering whatsoever. Nothing in software development is unique to software development, like workflows. It's not like, if anything, it feels like software development has just rediscovered principles of engineering that have been known in other fields. Like, oh fuck, maybe it's, the measure twice and cut once can actually apply to code as well, right? Who knows? Like so I'm curious if there's anything, just like a single video or something of Elon speaking about something or doing something, not hearsay, not a person saying like, oh yeah, Elon is so smart, but like something where he's like, oh yeah, it seems like this guy really knows what the fuck he's. Oh. Pertaining to SpaceX in this interview. Okay, please.
Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Welcome back to Starbase, Texas. This is, of course, where SpaceX is building their Starship vehicles. This is part one of 2 parts. In part one, we're going to take you around the factory, see what's new, see the ships, see the boosters, see Star Factory from the inside for the first time, and just learn a lot along the way. So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll take you out to the launch pad, and we'll also follow up with Elon after the launch and see how it went. So without further ado, let's go on another tour with Elon Musk. Cool. So yeah, as we were saying, I mean, obviously a lot has changed in the last couple of years. I mean, this is all, maybe in theory, I don't know. I mean,
it's exactly the same. It hasn't changed a bit.
That was always the criticism of Steve Jobs too, that he's just got big ideas, none of the actual technical know-how. I think Elon's similar. Yeah, but I don't think I don't think Steve Jobs claimed differently, did he? I don't know if anybody thought that or maybe they did at one point in time, that Steve Jobs is a really good engineer or whatever. I think Steve Jobs thought very highly of himself. Yeah, but did he think of himself as like a programmer, software developer, or whatever? Maybe he was. I'm not. Like he could have. I'm genuinely asking, maybe. People always say it's not fair to expect a CEO to know all the technical details of the company, but forget that this is exactly what Elon speaks and acts like. Yeah, I'm not expecting him to, but he says it all the time. This video has one section where he talks about the engineering process.
What I'm trying to have us all just implement rigorously is the sort of 5-step process. First, make your requirements less dumb. Your requirements are definitely dumb. It does not matter who gave them to you. It's particularly dangerous if a smart person gave you the requirements, because you might not question them enough.
Yeah, you might take it as like gospel, like yes. I have to do this thing.
Everyone's wrong, no matter who you are. Everyone's wrong some of the time. So make your requirements less dumb. Then try very hard to delete the part or process. This is actually very important. If you're not occasionally adding things back in, you are not deleting enough. Right. The bias tends to be very strongly towards let's add this part or process step in case we need it. But you can basically make in-case arguments for so many things. And for a rocket that is trying to achieve, trying to be the first fully reusable rocket, there's never been a fully reusable rocket. People don't understand. Like this is like the holy grail of rocketry.
100%.
Okay, and so you really need you have to run at tight margins, because if you don't run tight margins, you're gonna get nothing to orbit.
Right.
So you got to delete the part or process step. Super important, and you can't like hedge your bets. That's why the quick fins, for example, do not fold down, because that's a whole extra mechanism that we don't need.
And then compensating for it by having strong enough engine authority to steer it in the lower atmosphere.
Actually, our simulations show we don't really need any extra engine authority. As long as the grid fins, basically follow the flow, they're not really disturbing the flow. It's really neither here nor there. So as long as they don't have a high angle of attack, it doesn't matter.
A few degrees or something, or within a degree or two.
So, but in any case, it's something we could add later.
Right.
So now these grid fins are humongous. We'll go see them.
Okay, this section is better than I think most anything else I've heard him talk about. But maybe I've heard him talk about the fucking Cybertruck or whatever too much. So okay.
They're like, like a dinosaur bear trap. Okay, it's like a bear trap or a dinosaur. That's what these things look like. And if you have a whole mechanism for folding them, that's like clearly a part that we don't need.
Yep.
So this was a good design decision.
Although I mean, they still also sound kind of basic, but but at least it's not crazy retarded shit. Check this one.
This is absolutely brilliant. Are you ready for this? Let's go.
I believe you chose a stainless steel for the vehicle. I could be wrong, but what were the technical and engineering reasons for that? And don't stint on the details.
Because to a lot of people, intuitively, they would think of steel as being heavy, and rockets need to be light. So, well, that seems a pretty odd choice, picking a heavy-sounding thing for rockets, especially orbital rockets that need to be very light. The nature of Earth's gravity being quite strong and a dense atmosphere means that you really have to have an incredibly good propellant mass percentage, and you have to have very efficient engines to get anything to orbit at all. We started off with an advanced composite. So intuitively, if you ask people who understand materials, they will say, we want to make something incredibly light. They'll say, probably you want to use state-of-the-art carbon fiber composite. That's usually what they'll say. And that's what we started out with, which was really a very advanced carbon fiber. Actually, it was only made in very small quantities. It cost $130 per kilogram, so it was very expensive material. And there are some challenges if you want to make the primary structure out of carbon fiber, which is that you've got to contain cryogenic fluid, and you need.
Okay, I don't know how to explain this. I don't know how to express this. Okay, when I say that I want to hear somebody speak like intelligently about a thing, or to just like say something where I feel like you understand what you're talking about. Okay, okay. Right now, Elon is talking about how he says something that's kind of basic, but maybe people don't understand, right? You obviously, steel is good because it's strong, but it's really heavy. And then he gets more specific. Well, there are certain composite materials you can look into, that will give you their light and they're transportable, and then he talks about like exceptions to this, like it can be really expensive, really, right? It sounds like right now, what he's talking about here is something that it feels like, because he's not just talking about a couple discrete things. He's like interweaving and connecting a lot of pieces of information relating to rocketry. So this right now sounds like the most I've ever heard him speak where I'm like, oh, he seems like he actually really does understand this. I don't know what it is. I'm listening to him talk about AI, his car shit, or 90% of the time I hear him like speaking somewhere, it just sounds like he's saying random middle manager. I shouldn't even say middle manager, because those guys do need to understand to some extent what they're interfacing with. But okay, this sounds like he actually knows what he's talking about.
Gas in sort of what's called ullage gas, pressurization gas, to pressurize the propellants in the main tanks and feed the engine turbo pumps with a given inlet pressure. So if you have a carbon fiber tank, because it tends to be porous, and also
so he's talking about different trade-offs between different materials, efficiencies he needs to reach, like different types of okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. At least for SpaceX, then it sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Maybe, hopefully.
Actually, flammable.
This is all business stuff right now, right? No, it's not just business. It's business and physics, right? And in engineering, in quotes, right?
When subject to warm gaseous pure oxygen, because our vehicle is autonomously pressurized. So the oxygen tank is pressurized with gaseous oxygen, and the fuel tank is pressurized with gaseous methane. The resin and the carbon in the carbon fiber is potentially flammable with hot, pure oxygen gas. So you have to have some kind of liner. So when you look at the full mass and complexity of a carbon fiber system, you start having things that reduce the mass efficiency of carbon fiber, such as having an inert liner and being worried about gas permeating through the carbon fiber and that kind of thing. So, but it still would be it's still an okay choice. However, we were having a lot of trouble making progress with carbon fiber because this is a 9-meter diameter rocket. And so you're wrapping carbon fiber with typically, in this case, 60 to 120 plies, depending upon where you are in the tank.
Maybe it's because SpaceX was a pure passion thing for him, Tesla less so, and Twitter was purely about reactionary politics. Maybe his passion on it correlates to his ability to understand it. Maybe. I don't know what I've heard him say in terms of Tesla, where it sounds like he's a really good understanding of cars. But I will say this. I was the only person to say this 4 years ago, and I will still say this as much as I hate him, and I think he's probably one of the most damaging figures in America right now. SpaceX and Tesla are two unbelievably amazing brands, regardless of how shit Tesla cars are now in terms of Q and everything. I genuinely feel like Tesla pushed like electric cars forward by 10 or 20 years. Like I feel like nobody was really taking electric cars seriously until Tesla came about. And even today, I'm still not sure if people are taking electric cars as seriously as they could be. Like Tesla pushed that industry forward a lot. And SpaceX, the idea of America, even if the rockets weren't able to be caught or land back on Earth, it's cool that we launch rockets again. That's really good. Destiny, it just feels like he's regurgitating things people have explained to him. In this right here, none of this feels like it's regurgitated. He's speaking about particular problems, particular issues they ran into with particular materials and like reasons why they don't work and exploring alternatives. This sounds like what he's talking about right here. Everything he's talked about so far, to me, it sounds like he really understands what he's talking about right now. Like you could ask him a specific question about any of this and he could tell you why a particular material was good. It was too expensive, he said, for one, or why one didn't work. It was too flammable, right? This sounds like this is not a memorized, I don't believe that this is just memorized shit from his engineers. It sounds like he has an understanding, some level of understanding of what he's talking about. I don't know how to express that or why, but this is what it sounds like he is understanding, yeah.
And you have to get all of those wrappings accurate and not to leave bubbles or separator sheets or all the things that typically happen, or you've got to scrap the whole thing. And then you've got to get good mass properties, put it in an autoclave and put it under a lot of pressure. And then you need a gigantic autoclave because it's a 9-meter diameter with a 70-meter long boost.
If you think that Elon is dumb, you 100% have deep partisan brain rot. No, the issue that's so difficult for me to figure out is that I don't understand how people, and maybe this is the human, maybe it's more normal than I'm giving it credit for. I don't understand how people can be so intelligent in some areas and so fucking unbelievably stupid in other areas. It's very hard for me to understand that. People have no humility when it comes to exploring unrelated fields, or they don't seem to carry any of the epistemic lessons from one field to the next, right? Oh, in order to learn this thing about rockets, I had to do all this research, all this reading, all this studying, all this engineering, all this CEOing. I had to do all this. And then when it comes to something else, like, oh, medicine and pharmacology, well, I know all of that immediately because I read a tweet. But I'm sure that Elon has seen tweets or things where people try to step in and tell him about rockets, where he's like, this is so cringe, bro. What the fuck? You don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, I don't know.
Stage. So this is autoclave from hell. And we just weren't making rapid progress with this material. So then the next step, the other two materials we're considering are high strength form of aluminum, or potentially steel. So for Falcon 9, we use aluminum lithium, which is the highest strength to weight aluminum alloy that you can use. Very difficult to weld. But that's what we use for the primary structure of Falcon 9. But the problem is it's very difficult to weld. You need to do friction stir welding, and also the material cost is quite high. That's sort of material cost. Arguably,
do you actually think he doesn't realize that, or that he's more calculated at the way he's acting? I have no idea. I don't know.
On the sort of $40 a kilogram level.
I just want to interrupt really quick to say that was a pretty good rundown.
Okay, thank you. All right, at least I know he's not retarded when it comes to rockets. Okay, that's all I want. I just needed a video of him speaking where it sounded like he understood it. Because everything I've heard him speak about recently when it comes to tech and shit, he just sounds fucking retarded. Like, he actually sounds like an idiot. Like a guy pulled from Twitter who's like, this is so cool, and just like talking random shit. This sounds like he really knows what he's talking about, though. Thank you. Okay.